This is the smell of the leftover tuna fish sandwich you left in your lunchbox over the weekend in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy!
Blech! And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Ah, smell the difference? Hefty Ultra Strong has Arm & Hammer with continuous odor control, so no matter what's inside your trash, you can stay one step ahead of stinky. And for bigger jobs, try the superior strength of Hefty Large Black Bags.
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy!
Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a Hefty Ultra Strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
What's going on? This is Tyler with Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, and I got a brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast for you. Today I want to get into the lost art of practice and what's happened to getting back into the lab and grinding it out and getting better on the practice field versus playing tournaments after tournaments after tournaments all the time. So a few years ago, there were more practices than games. And that's, the way it has always been up until recently. Now it seems like every weekend there's a tournament. We have to drive across town to play the same 4 teams or the same 6 teams. And then the following weekend, we'll jump in a car and we'll drive to another city. And lo and behold, there's the same teams we just played from the weekend before. We're not practicing as much. Families got more going on. Families, they got both parents are working now. It's harder to get to and from practice. During the week, there's, rec ball has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit to where it used to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was either practices or games. Early in the season, you would be practicing, and then a couple weeks later, the game started. And there wouldn't be practices on the weekends. There would just be, travel ball tournaments. Now, you can't get to an hour and a half away for practice on a Tuesday night to make it happen. So more and more athletes are going to hitting specialists or pitching specialists or strength and conditioning, replacing that on field with a team, with your coach type of practice. And I think it has something to do with the times that we're in, but I think that also has to do with, parents wanting to have more control of their athletes instead of entrusting the coaches to help get their kids better. And we can supplement the coaches. If you have a pitching instructor, they can do that too. Or a hitting instructor that works with your athlete, on the off nights that we don't have practice. But the way it's going right now, it just seems like we're not getting that on-field practice where we're getting maximum reps. Now, I know there are places, there's little pockets all over the country where girls are showing up to clinics that go on weekly. Like every Wednesday, we go meet up with, probably 20, 30 other girls with 4 and 5 different coaches, and we're getting those infield reps. I mean, we're just rep after rep. We're getting that stuff in, and that's great. What I'm more or less sort of hitting on here is we would rather maximize our tournament play instead of maximize their development. We're trying to develop our athletes in games and kind of going on, putting Band-Aids on everything. Not really focusing on, she has an issue with her hips, being able to track a fly ball in the outfield. She's not reading it off the bat, but maybe this weekend she is, and we just go with that. Or if she's, in a slump, she's not really hitting, she can't get those extra reps in practice. She's not looking at scenario and stuff like that. And so the first part of this podcast, I kind of wanted to get into the benefits of practice and what coaches can get out of it with their athletes. If we don't practice with a team, it's hard for us to get everyone on the same page as far as a scenario is concerned. And one thing that's glaring is bunt coverages. We can tell them what to do all day in different situations when bunt is, a big opportunity for this other team to move some runners or some score. They're going to probably bunt right here. Well, you try to set your defense up, or you might call a play, and then the girl she knows what she's supposed to do, but she's not used to doing it. She doesn't have the experience doing it. She doesn't have the training. She doesn't have the repetition to develop those skills to instinctually play that position for a bunt. So you're going over it in practice for 30 minutes with a whole team, rotating your players, because we know injuries happen. We know you got players that play multiple positions. You don't know what the scenario will be when you have a certain defense in place. So going over that and different variations of your bunt coverage is critical to do that in practice versus sitting in a team huddle and saying, hey, if you're playing second and there's a runner on one, this is where you go. Or I want my first and third crashing. Or, if they don't go through that in a practice, it's hard for them to do it like they want to and like you expect them to do. So the development takes place at practice. If a batter is struggling and you're trying to tell them, hey, we got a runner on second here. We're looking to go backside with this because we want to move that runner. So we're trying to get this runner to third base because right now we have less than 2 outs. We want to move this runner. We want to get her up 60 feet closer. If a player, only does that kind of work on the tee or only does it in the batting cage, when it comes live and we're out here and we haven't gone through scrimmages or friendlies, or we haven't had this scenario come up in practice, it's hard for her to visualize that. She may want to do it and only get a chance to do that in game. But the more times you can do it at practice, it works out better for you in the long run. Same thing with bunt scenarios. You can do a little 5-on-5. Put base runners on, have your defense, and just everyone knows that we're bunting here. And it puts the pressure on everyone. Everyone knows in this situation, the batter is bunting. So it puts the pressure on the batter. In this situation, the defense knows, like, hey, she's bunting. We got to make a play right here. She's fast, or we got to get this out, or we can't let the runner advance, or we got to at least take the out here. We have a big enough lead to where we're just counting the outs right now. There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different scenarios that you can do that helps these athletes along the way. When they get to college, it's a lot of practice, a ton of practicing. Don't get bored with the basics. And I think that's where we are now, is coaches want to reinvent the wheel. They want to, do the next best thing that's out there. We don't practice a whole lot. We just meet up and show up together. And it works for a lot of them. But for the majority of these girls that are maybe starting out in travel ball, or, this is their first time really facing higher competition, they need practice. We're expecting, we're demanding a lot from these athletes, but we're also not giving them the tools to succeed. So it's kind of difficult where we're not really setting them up for success. And in turn, as a whole, as a group, as a team, we're not really going to be successful in developing. And when we get a little bit older, these things, coaches are going to expect certain things, certain levels, and it's just not there. And it's tough to see that now. But if you can go back to the drawing board and say, man, I wish we'd have practiced this more. We do it every weekend, I wish we'd have gone over this, or here's a scenario that pops up. So during your tournaments and whatever you're doing, make sure, coaches, you're writing down your little notes so that you can go, okay, hey, this is what we're going to cover next week. This is a situation that's come up a couple times, or it may not have come up. You just see it and go, you know what, I need to make sure that we're covering this, or we're going over this in practice. It's huge. Parents, make sure you're getting your athletes, to those practices. I see it all the time with these tryouts. Distance isn't an issue. Well, it's not an issue for who? The coach, who's going to be having practice not too far from his house. It actually is an issue on a lot of different fronts. If you say practice isn't, or distance isn't an issue, because they don't have to come to practice. Well, the team's just not going to gel if you can't get everybody there to practice. The team's not going to gel if you don't practice at all. It is an issue because mamas and daddies have to set aside that hour and a half travel there and an hour and a half travel back, or 2 hours or an hour, whatever it is. They may have, multiple kids with different extracurricular activities going on. They got to figure out how they're going to do it. If you live 2 hours away, and the team is practicing, and they have practice every Wednesday and every Sunday they're not playing, that's a commitment that you have to make. It's not just, okay, we're on a team now, and then we'll figure out practice schedule. No, you need to. It needs to be the whole bag. You need to look at the whole situation. Do you like the coaches? Can you see that your child getting better? Is there a good connection between her and the other girls? Can you fit this into your budget? How far is the distance? Can you make this trip every Wednesday night, an hour and a half after school, and then an hour and a half back home? Is that something that you can see put into your lifestyle? That the practice is more important than the game. That's it. Practice will always be more important. The developing of the athlete will be more important than any plastic trophy, any ring, any medal, anything that you get from the games will never be as important as that development, the grind, them going through something, them pushing themselves to get better, the constant just hammering the basics. It's what's most critical. When they get to college, it doesn't stop. They go over the same stuff. They just hammer it in, that muscle memory, that good technique. And another piece to the college puzzle that's probably not in your picture right now is film study, is studying the game, studying tendencies. It's critical. Coaches don't do that very often. I hardly ever see it to where at a practice, coaches get the whole team together and they're working over scenarios. They're saying, hey, this is the situation. And they're asking questions instead of just talking at the players and say, hey, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. Get some feedback from the athletes. Athletes know each other. This is what happened last time. This girl is fast. This girl is a power hitter. They like to do this in this situation. A lot of coaches just go up there and wing it, and they have a plan, but they don't tell anybody. They'll expect their athletes to execute whatever it is that they say that they're going to do. There used to be these flashcards and stuff that would go around, and it would just pop up scenarios. And it's not like a teaching tool for everyone. It could be used as a teaching tool, especially if you're starting out. You got a brand new 8U, 10U team, and they're learning the basics of the game. Absolutely use it as a teaching tool. But the flashcards and the scenario cards and situational cards is there. It's almost like a mock-up practice. Just flip it over, and it'll say, got a runner on second, 2 outs, the ball's hit here. What are you doing? If you're playing third, what are you doing? In this situation, where do you go as the pitcher? After the pitch is thrown and the ball's hit to right, where are you going? We've got 2 outs in this situation, a runner here and here. What are we doing? Going over these scenarios, because you have different types of learners. You have those learners that are auditory, visual. You've got those hands-on type learners. So all your players, you can't just tell them they hear you and they can do it. It just doesn't work. You have to go through the situation with some of them. They have to actually visually see what we're doing here, and then all of a sudden it clicks. So as coaches, we have to adapt to our team as well. And we can't do that unless we are practicing. And, that old Allen Iverson, I guess it's a meme now, back in the playoffs, he's talking about practice. Yeah, we're talking about practice. It's the most important thing for any athlete is practice. It doesn't matter if it's swimming, badminton, bowling, baseball, softball, practice. You have to build that good muscle memory. When I was in the Marine Corps, we did everything 1,000 times because we wanted to train our bodies to do it just one way, the right way, over and over. And it didn't go away. Once you learn it, it doesn't just stick with you. You have to continue training those muscles to stay used to this. This is the way we do it. It has to be muscle memory. It has to be. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Think about you at your job, parents. Think about what you're doing. You do the same stuff over and over. It just becomes muscle memory. You get faster at it. You get more efficient at it. You get better at it. It's the same thing as your center fielder flopping her hips back and forth. And a ball hit to left center. She's jumping on it. She knows how to read it off the bat. She knows her timing with this pitcher. She knows the delivery. She knows, what our situation is because she's gone through it so much in practice. All these athletes, these superstar athletes that we look up to and we pay attention to, they'll tell you, practice was always harder than the games. I used to look forward to the games. I hated practice because it was such a grind going over it and working my butt off constantly, trying to get it right. You need to practice harder than you'll play. These athletes that are wrestlers, I was a wrestler, and we used to make our practices, our scrimmage matches almost. We used to call them rotations, to where it would just be brutal, so that any match you were going to come into that season was not going to be as hard as that match that you had in practice. So that's the way we need to do it. We need to put the situations on in our softball practices to where they get used to these pressure-packed situations. We start with a runner on third and we're bunting. We start with nobody out, bases loaded. Let your pitcher work out of the jam. Your defense is there. Let them work out of this jam right here. Start every pitcher behind in the count. Start every batter behind in the count. There's so much you can get from practice, but we've become lazy. We just want to coach in games. We want other people to see us as coaches. That's the thing. What kind of coach are you behind the scenes? What kind of grind are you going through with your team? This is where that camaraderie comes into play at. These girls have gone through the same stuff. They've had these brutal practices. They've ran these suicides. They've ran these sprints. They've gone through these wall drills. Or wall sits. They've fielded, 200 balls in this practice. They've caught 50 balls. It's just the grind. So that when they get there, in the back of their mind, they know what the practices were this week. They know how hard they worked their butts off. Now they're going in this thing as a band of sisters, about to take on the world. We build that on the practice field. That's where we get this from. We build it on the practice field. Then we show up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at these tournaments ready to go. We've just implemented something new. We've been working on something. This is our, these tournaments need to be used as like chapters, like little progress points throughout the season as far as development goes. We can't put all our eggs in the basket, for this tournament and put it on the line and say, hey, this is it right here. This is my tournament. This is my moment. There are small moments throughout the season, absolutely, and I don't want to downplay those. But if I have to downplay those moments to get you to realize that practice is more important than anything, then absolutely, I'll downplay the tournaments. Stop playing tournaments. Go develop. Because there's no college coach that cares that you won the Top Gun Winter World Series when you were a 14U player. They don't care. I'm not saying you shouldn't care because it's a moment. It's a learning moment. But don't treat it like it's the greatest thing ever. Because next week you're going to forget a lot of that tournament. We need to use it as different place markers along our way. Different parts of our roadmap here. So that's my piece on, the lost art of practice. Coaches, make sure going into it next year, I'm going to practice more. We're going to develop more as athletes. We may play 1 or 2, 3 less tournaments just to make sure we have these weekends to where it's a Saturday like we'd normally play a tournament or a Sunday like we'd normally play a tournament. And let's have like a team day. We're going to grind it out in the morning. We'll break for lunch, and then we'll do some scrimmage scenarios in the afternoon. That's, get together with other teams in your organization saying, hey, we're going to have a Spartans day where, from 9 to 1, we'll do hour-long sessions of whatever work. We'll have X amount of teams, and we'll do all this. And then the next day we'll come back and we'll do scrimmages. There's different variations to that. You Get your organization together, plan this thing out. I mean, right now is a perfect time to plan it out for the spring before everything kicks off and gets going. Let's all get together as an organization. Do these organizational type Zoom meetings or virtual meetings to where you're talking, the stuff that you would do at a practice. Let's do it virtually as well. Let's go over scenarios as a team. Coaches get together within the same area. If you're not in an organization, there are other teams that are around you as well that you can say, hey, this weekend we want to work on some scenario stuff. You want to, maybe come out. We'll get together and we can figure out how we can practice together. Do some friendlies. Basketball and football, they do jamborees. You can do the same thing in softball. Why does it have to be paying $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 to travel 2.5 hours to play in a tournament where you could have called these guys up and said, hey, in 3 weeks, would you guys want to come out? I got fields ready to go. We can practice together in the morning and then we can play in the afternoon. Behind the scenes, you don't have that pressure on there. For some reason, these rinky-dink plastic trophies and medals and stuff put so much pressure on these coaches. We don't have to. We don't. So get back to the basics. Get back to practicing. Your teams will become better for it. Your players will become better for it. You as a coach will become better for it. Your athletes as people will become better for it. Your team will grow from practice. I promise you. All right, so that's going to be it for this episode. If you guys haven't done so, go check out the YouTube channel. It's over there. It's Black Diamond Softball and Fitness on the YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. A lot of YouTube shorts are out there, reels, different things like that. And of course, you can find all these podcasts, whether you're listening to it on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening to the podcast. I appreciate you. The community is growing as a whole over time. There's a lot of different stuff going on here at Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So I appreciate all the support. And until next time, stay safe. And if you share this with a friend, and make sure you tell them you love them.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.